Blog Talk Radio. Greetings and welcome to the Sales Sense Reality Talk Show with your host, Mike Krause. Mike has sold over $100 million in sales and offers Fortune 500 strategies, tactics, and tools to sales professionals and business leaders. He created this show with one thing in mind, for sales professionals to share their secrets with each other. Join us every Wednesday at 12 to 12:30 Eastern Time, or sign up for updates on Mike's mailing list at salessensesolutions.com. Mike appreciates you listening and wishes you good luck on your next sales call.
Well, welcome. It's Mike Krause with the Sales Sense Reality Talk Show. Today we have Bob Gregory. I'm excellently pleased to have Bob with us today. I worked with him at Lexis Nexis. He was a mentor, and he's just been a fantastic salesperson over his lifetime. And he's been at Heinz, regional area manager with Elliott Imported Spirits and Sales. He's had employee programs for Fortune 500, Voicemail International, voicemail services to Fortune 1000 companies. He's been an account executive, Eastern Regional Manager for Martindale Hubbell, where we work together, client development specialist, senior development specialist. He's won 10 years in a row a Circle of Excellence Award, 3 consecutive years lead company in new bar registry, 3 consecutive years in new bar register, and 2 consecutive years for top 10 most international sales listings. In 1988, he had the top cancellation loss rate, most lawyer homepage sales, highest renewal percentage, top renewal revenue in 1999, highest renewal revenue growth, most new sales units, most lawyer homepage and renewals, the top revenue increase star award, $1 Million Club, most lawyer homepage sales in 2001, top revenue increase, top 2002, most enhancements, top renewal increase, and top revenue increase, best overall renewal sales in 1993 to present, and he's been sales trainer and classroom sales trainer as well. So, wow, Bob, without further ado, tell us more about you, and that's an impressive record you've had.
Well, actually, I try not to think about that record, and that record is there because you asked for it, Michael. I don't have time on a daily basis while trying to sell new business to think about past accomplishments. I remember receiving these awards and sitting next to a colleague and always saying to each other that these awards already happened. As we sit here, we're really nothing yet until we go out and accomplish something more.
Absolutely, and I think that's one mistake that salespeople make, is to kind of rest and sit back, and you're a dinosaur on Friday and you're unemployed on Monday, you know. Yeah, tell us how you've kept the strength and how you hunt after that new business, which I know is so important to Lexis Nexis and all businesses, frankly. If you're not growing, you're dying. Tell us what makes you unique, and tell us a little bit about the area for the listeners that you're covering and what you're providing to attorneys in your territory.
I've worked all over the country, actually, from Hawaii to Vermont, up to the Canadian border, and everywhere in between, including the U.S. Virgin Islands. Most of my territory, most of my time is New York City and the northern part of the state of New Jersey and a piece of Connecticut. Actually, the biggest thing that any one salesperson can do is maintain a very high level of activity. And you have to be flexible. You have to seek out new ideas. You have to like change. The market requires it, and I think it's more fun to change and try to drive success that way. For example, regarding activity, I'm in the process of sending what we call an email blast. We have a Sales Pro tool that we are able to use. I have about 3 or 4 different email messages that I rotate. I have a list that I'm using here of 9 customers in my area that totals 2,800. So when I send this email, it'll automatically go 2,800 sales prospects in my area. The message I'm sending now is offering a complimentary Google assessment for their websites to analyze the website and to give a complimentary ranking report where they come up on the natural or organic searches. And as I said, I start out by saying it's a complimentary Google assessment. I include in the message of what's in it for you to give them a reason to react and respond. I also send out emails independently, but that takes work at night, doing analysis, looking for prospective clients that could use our services. That's important as well. You have to qualify your prospects. Don't waste time on unqualified prospects. Don't go to see someone because it's comfortable. Don't waste your time to go see anybody just because they'll see you. There has to be something in it for you as well. And that's what I think the most important thing is in any economic climate is activity. If the climate is a good economic climate, you have more people crawling around the countryside looking for business. And when it's bad, you have less people crawling around possibly, but you also have less potential buyers.
Yes, absolutely. It's kind of when you have to dig in, and that's when the best salespeople really surface, rise to the surface. Now, with regards to the email, and I forgot who wrote this book, but, the new sale is free. Now, is that a complimentary analysis that you give them, and how effective has that been to generate that lead?
Well, absolutely complimentary. We use proprietary tools to do the analysis. We do a ranking report on where their website comes up in the natural or organic searches. And the analysis tells me ahead of time what I can possibly present to them. For example, if they're optimized well and they have a good website, I can't suggest a new website and be honest with them and ethical. I can't suggest better optimization if their optimization rankings are good. So I have to sell them on being part of our network, which is supported at this time by a $6 million TV ad program, as well as getting 5 million searches a month for people looking for attorneys and law firms. There's no other place on the internet that happens. As a matter of fact, if you go to Google and just type in the word lawyers, in the field, underneath you can do a Google search, which will show you where the top sponsored and top natural or organic search at lawyers.com. Or if you hit underneath that field where you would put in lawyers and hit I'm feeling lucky, lawyers.com opens automatically. And that's because Google has determined it to be the #1 site on the World Wide Web for people looking for attorneys and law firms. That's not something that we can buy. It's not something we can influence. It's just something that Google has to determine on their own to put you there. So when you do get a prospect, when you do the analysis, when you do the ranking reports, that helps you as well to help them. It gives you a direction and insight.
Absolutely, and as a sales professional, you're only as strong as your product. And I just did do that Google search for lawyers.com, and it does come up #1. So, and that's a very powerful opening or unique value proposition to your prospects to say, go ahead, put in lawyers and see where we come up. And then, the proof is in the pudding, I guess, and showing them versus telling them is so much more powerful than just talking about it. So, excellent. And lawyers.com is the #1 search website, and from Martindale, Hubble, etc. So that is excellent. What other forms of prospecting do you find to be effective when going after? All salespeople are always looking for that new lead. What other things besides internet or email blast and just kind of canvassing at night? And I want to go back to one thing you said too. You were doing your prospecting at night. Bob has always been a top producer, and that is, I guarantee, a large percentage of why he is successful is because he's doing his prospecting, he's putting the extra effort in at night, not during the day when you should be out in front of people and making your presentations. He's doing that extra work at night. That little extra work makes a huge difference. So I guess my first question is, what other things do you do for lead generation, and do you find that doing your homework at night makes a difference?
Well, in my work, I'm in buildings that happen to have a lot of lawyers and law firms. I just finished a meeting with an attorney and discovered a new firm that went into this building that does employment law. So while I was waiting to go in on my appointment, I asked a few questions to the receptionist and found out that this lady who started a solo practice was formerly with a large firm. She's doing employment law, and with employment law, you have to ask the secondary question, is she doing it on the defense side or is she doing it on the plaintiff side? And this woman so happens to be doing it on both sides. And what I did was I was able to get a business card, and her secretary came out and set up an appointment with me next Tuesday at 1 o'clock because I have a follow-up at 2:30 in that same building with the attorney I met with today. So you always have to keep your eyes open as you go along. I'm selling advertising. I'm selling exposure for law firms and lawyers. So on the way out of the building, I picked up a new yellow book that was stacked up for Morris County in New Jersey on the way out of the building. This gives me an idea of what people are spending as far as yellow page advertising. That is diminishing at this point in time, but I can see if they have a website because many times they'll list their URL on the ad. So the yellow pages is a good resource for me. You can also go into Google Maps and use that as a prospecting tool. Like I said, for me, I have buildings where there happen to be a lot of lawyers and law firms. If I have an address, I can find who's in that building, and I can compare it to my historical and current notes on what I have in the territory. Also, word of mouth. An attorney referral is the best possible referral and prospect for me. I had a fellow in Cranford, New Jersey, buy a small program for me. He picked up the phone and called two of his friends right in front of me before I left. I was able to sign up one of his friends that same day and made an appointment with another one. The third one took a little bit longer, but eventually turned into a $30,000 sale. And it was a firm that I might not have found. He's not in a building. He's in a building with more medical professionals and lawyers. Did not advertise. Would have been very hard to find on my own. So as I started, you have to be flexible. You have to want to do new things and make new money.
New money. You got to be on the hunt. Now, going back to referrals, we all know that referrals are critical in asking for them, but 85%, according to the Culpeper study here, do not ask for the referrals. So we all know it's important, but a lot of people or salespeople are not doing that. What is some of the things that you say towards the end of the call that kind of sets it up to ask for that referral? What is some of the language you use?
Well, in my particular business, I will ask an attorney what firms or lawyers they refer cases to in certain practice areas they don't handle. For example, many law firms and attorneys will advertise that they do personal injury and especially medical malpractice, and they never, in fact, actually do it. For example, the medical malpractice cases are extremely expensive to finance, and they're on contingency. So if you don't win, you don't collect, and that's a lot of money to put out just to take a chance on. So the attorneys that don't typically do the medical malpractice will ask the right questions to figure out if there's possibly a case there, refer it to a firm that does medical malpractice routinely, and then at the end of the day, when the case is done, they'll collect the fee. It also happens the same way with personal injury. most recently, there were 2 burn victims referred to the same law firm in New Jersey from the same attorney. The first one resulted in the second largest verdict in the state of New Jersey's history for a burn victim, which was an industrial electrician, got burned on the job and received a $55 million settlement. The referring attorney collected multi-million dollars on that verdict. So, if I asked him, who do you refer your personal injury matters to, he would give me that name. So on and so on, no matter what practice areas they do. And in this business, many of the law firms are going to boutique practices, so they limit their practice areas. They have a network that they use routinely, and they'll typically refer their family matters, divorce matters to one firm. They'll send personal injury to another firm, medical malpractice to another firm. So by me asking at the end of the call, who do you refer your business to, I could pick up 5, 6 different leads, because sometimes they have 2 firms that they refer their personal injury matters to. So that grows exponentially. And then I always ask, is there someone else do you think that can use the same help that I've offered to you? But always ask.
Always ask, exactly. Just make it part of your routine at the end to always ask. And kind of paint the picture, who are you referring to? If, for example, if they're a personal injury attorney and they're not in family law, who do you refer a divorce to? And kind of paint the picture. Don't just kind of come out and say, hey, can you give me a referral? Because I think a lot of salespeople ask it just like that. Do you have any referrals or what have you? You have to walk them a little bit along. I know you're awesome at follow-up. And that is, again, same stat here, 85% of salespeople do not follow up, and which is unbelievable when you think about it. But so what are some techniques that you are using and time frames? So you meet, let's say, for example, let's set it up here. You meet a new attorney, and they say, let me think about it. What are some things that you do to keep that warm and then close?
Well, that's another good question based on my first appointment this morning. I've met this attorney, I believe, 15 years ago when he was in a partnership. I have not been able to sell him as a solo practice up to this point, which leads me to talk about how you have to know the type of people you're selling to. What is the psychology? What motivates them to buy? For example, if you're calling on human resources, the studies show they're not decision-making type people. That's the same thing with attorneys. They're most often making their money on billable hours. There's no incentive besides the statute of limitations for them to move along swiftly many times. So you're doing everything, you're trying to accomplish everything that's contrary to what they do typically. So you have to know the psychology of the person. You have to keep a file. You have to follow up. I follow up routinely, and it just so happens that now he has the money. Now he realizes everything that I've been telling him for the past number of years is actually real, and he's reacting. So keep a historical file, build it into a list, and continually attack it. Attack it from the top down, from the bottom up, and all through, sprinkling through the middle, depending on what's going on in the market.
Absolutely. Now, do you send them interesting articles along the way? For example, let's say the attorney was in family law. Do you find some resources to become more of an educational source for a sales professional? I found that to be very effective. That was just, Bob, I saw this article. I was thinking of you. Just take a read when you can. Do you do those types of things to become more of a resource?
Absolutely. That falls right into the area of consultative selling, and it does help support your cause. I send verdicts and settlements out. I had the opportunity and the luck all at the same time. I had sent an email to a firm, and the next day realized that that firm got a settlement for $7.2 million over the personal injury suit. So based on that, I knew the firm had money to spend at that time. So now it was my job to get in there, congratulate them on the verdict, and suggest to them that they should publicize this the best they can to maximize on this positive verdict.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. To seize the day. So you had them in your sights, and then something happened, and you responded to it. I feel like a lot of times salespeople don't keep abreast of what's going on in their prospects, and they just walk into these calls blindly. When I'm doing a lot of coaching, I don't tell them to do a lot of research before, and that's by design, because I want to see if they are doing it. And they don't. They don't do any Google searching. They don't have any information on the firm. They don't have any information at all. And I'm like, how can you speak to your prospect and know who you're talking to and provide solutions if you haven't done any research at all? So you obviously, go ahead.
I agree with that, Mike. And I've been in my territory for a number of years now, and by being able to forward articles, by being able to speak to the market, by being able to speak about their competitors, you become a source of valued information for these people. I have customers call me up when they're in a bind, for example. They're looking to form a partnership with someone, and they'll ask me, who do I know that can be a litigator for them? For example, they might do transactional work in the estate planning, estate administration field, and not go to court. Many people think that all lawyers are like TV lawyers. Well, that's not true. Many of them would quit the practice of law if they had to appear in a courtroom. However, in the estate area, probate, wills, trusts, many of those are transactional attorneys, but realize if they're solo practitioners that they do lose business through the estate litigation process if they're not going to court. So they'll want an associate, they'll want a partner, they'll want someone of counsel, they'll want a close relationship with someone that can handle those litigation matters, and they can possibly get a fee for referring those cases. So it's very important to be a source of information to prospects and customers alike.
Absolutely, and I think so many times salespeople miss the boat there. They're kind of in it for themselves instead of in it for their client, and I think that's what makes your long-term success. You've always been there for your clients. You've always been a resource. You sold ethically and honestly. You speak from the street, and you're out there, and I think that's what makes your long-term success. Plus, you're just a great person, anyways, But what are some things here that you, as a sales professional, being it for all your life, basically, how do you keep mentally engaged? As we all know in sales, it has its cycles of ups and downs. And what do you do to keep yourself engaged and excited to go out there every day and be engaged in selling?
Well, I believe that most successful salespeople have it in their DNA. So that's my start. The other thing is I've always been a competitive person. I don't like to lose. I don't like to fail. There are times when you receive targets and goals that seem unsurmountable, and you just can't accept that. You have to beat that target. You have to beat the goal, or at least do your best. Have a good work ethic, and be determined to do everything you can to attack that goal, to attack that target. I also happen to like my customers. I happen to like dealing with the people, and that's another reason that I do my work at night, or I start at 6:30 a.m. doing the analysis and doing prospecting, so I can spend as much time in the field with customers as possible. I mean, the analysis and the targeting of prospects is one thing, but it's invaluable shaking someone's hand and sitting down with them and being face-to-face. There's no other way to get what you get from that face-to-face meeting. So, as I stated in the beginning, it's activity, it's a desire not to lose, it's the desire to accomplish, and another thing that I have in me is I'm afraid of failure. I always have that in me. I'm afraid of it. I don't like it. I don't want to be associated with it.
I agree. I agree with that. That is a big fear of failure. I have that disease myself. And I think that's how athletes train too. You know, even like Michael Phelps, his coach always put negative publicity in front of what in his locker, so he'd open up and said, "This person said this about you," and I think the top producers feed off of that negativity or the fear of failure, and that just makes us more successful, is that we don't want to fail. So you've helped me a lot with one thing you say. Now, of course, I can't remember it, but people don't care what you know until you show them how you care. Is that what you say?
Well, yeah, because it's about them.
Yeah.
And until you're listening twice as much as you're talking, you're not going to have the kind of success that you'd probably like to enjoy. The questioning, the being interested in the person, for them to open up about themselves, their businesses, their goals, is invaluable. I ask a question to many attorneys, and many attorneys have very high opinions of themselves and of their intelligence. And I do analysis before I go in, and I discover that there is no marketing for this firm. And I'll ask a very simple question. I'll ask them, I'm guessing you want to make more money next year than this year. And very many times I get a nasty response about, well, that's a stupid question, or of course, and they give me a funny look. Mm-hmm. And I'm not averse to that, because I have a follow-up question to that I know they can't answer. And when they're determined, of course, I want to make more money, they have a blank look on their face when I ask them what's their plan to do that. And I've just opened the door for myself, because I do have a plan for them to make more money next year than this year.
Absolutely. Lead them down the path. And that kind of closes us out here a little bit with objection handling. That's a lot of times salespeople have some struggles with objection handling. And I'll just throw in probably, Bob, you're just too expensive.
Well, compared to what, Michael? That's what I want to know. Because I build value into what I have. I demonstrate that it's a partnership. It has to be a return. They'll ask for guarantees. And I'm in a business where I can respond very quickly and say to them, well, I doubt that you guarantee a result, counselor. And then I follow up with, I'm guessing that you guarantee that you're going to give them the highest legal representation possible. That's what I guarantee to you. I'll give you the highest representation advertising area possible, but I can support that statement with numbers and facts, where many times they can't do it. So objections, I welcome objections, because many times they're buying signals. The price objection, that's easy. I think that should be easy for every salesperson. And actually, that's a welcome objection. The hardest objections that I get are ones that don't make any sense to the business at hand. Those are tougher to handle, because you have to figure out what's behind that objection. Is it in fact a real objection? Because many times they're not. Many times they're buying signals, and that's something you get with experience. The more people you talk to, the more sales you try to make, the more sales you do make, the more oftentimes you're able to read through the lines and find out what the real objections are, welcome those, and use them as sales opportunities.
I agree, and I think that's a great way to close us out this week. Bob, I've learned a lot, and I really appreciate you taking time out of your selling day to share with the listeners your secrets of success and trials and tribulations. And Next week I'm going to have Cellular MD on, and they have an interesting business model that they're competing against Verizon and kind of to repair your cell phone at a discounted price. And we all pay those insurance premiums each month, and he has an interesting way how to approach the market. So, but Bob, anything else to close us out here with to the listeners, or any last-minute advice?
Well, I'd like to thank everyone. Thank you, Michael. Like I said, the number one thing is activity. Sell ethically. It will come back to help you in the future when your customers have trust in you, and deliver what you sell. Good selling, everyone.
Yes, good selling, everyone, and good luck on your next sales call, and thanks again, Bob. Have a great day.